I'm gonna teach you how to beat the new Spectral Knight boss in Dark and Darker. The newest wipe brought back the Ruins map along with the brand new Spectral Knight boss. This flying suit of armor is really tough, swinging fast and hitting hard, usually wiping lots of players in the Ruins. But after farming this boss a bunch and selling lots of Spectral Silk for 3k plus, I'm now able to show you how to make the fight as easy as possible. Sure, Longsword is really good at this boss in particular, but if you learn my strategy, you'll be able to fight the boss with any class. To even reach the Spectral Knight, obviously queue up for Ruins and head to the module north of the middlemost area. If you're getting lost, remember that you can press M to open your map to help guide you to your destination. Once at the double towers, head to the northwest or southeast part to find stairs leading down to a boss door that you can open to find the Sleeping Knight. To be clear, don't confuse this boss with the room south of the middle module, since that will contain the Banshee boss once it's added to the game. Once you're inside, rush the boss to land some free hits while it gets fully summoned. I'm not sure if it's immune to damage here, but if you're a meleeer anyway, you might as well attack. Now let's talk about each of the boss's attacks and how to dodge them. I recommend circle strafing the boss to the right while slightly diagonally moving away from them, since this will help you easily space most of its attacks. When you master the spacing, it will allow you to dodge many of its moves for free without having to perfectly react to each attack. Even so, I'll explain how to dodge each and every one of its attacks. The boss has a stabbing thrust attack that it can use to lunge at you across the room. Thankfully, this is easy to dodge, so just step to the side to completely avoid this attack. If you're quick, you can even swing your weapon while the boss charges you to intercept them for a free hit. Spectral Knight has two other variations of its stab attack, one that's very short range and usually starts a combo, then another where it extends its ghostly essence to thrust considerably further. Thankfully, no matter whether it does the short, medium, or long range thrust, the solution is the same. Just step to the side and counterattack if you can. Next, let's talk about the overhead attack. This one is just as easy to sidestep dodge as the thrust, but is even more punishable. The boss's overhead slam attack is usually at the end of its combo and is always an opportunity to land a free hit or two, since the knight must complete its recovery animation before it can attack again. As before, a simple sidestep will dodge this, but just remember to recognize it as a damage opportunity as well. Another damage opportunity is when the boss does its aerial plunge attack. This attack has a deceptively large shockwave, so make sure to get far away. This attack is also a situation where diagonal circle strafing usually doesn't work. If you just sidestep or try to diagonally move away, you'll often get hit by the shockwave even though you're far away. Instead, once you notice this attack, circle towards the boss and try to get away behind it. Afterwards, rush the boss for a couple free hits as it recovers from the plunge. Next up is the shoulder bash. It's a very quick short-range gap closer that the boss uses to quickly get closer to you before starting a combo. But if it hits you, it will deal a bit of damage and push you back. Though as long as you're continuously circle strafing right, you should never get hit by this, since it's easily side strafable. Now let's talk about the diagonal swings. Since we're circle strafing right, the boss will swing towards us from our left, either as a low to high swing or as a high to low swing. If you're properly diagonally spaced, these might be just out of reach and miss you either way. But if you're within range, thankfully circle strafing right freely dodges the low to high swing, since it will go right over your head. However, if it's the high to low swing, it will hit your legs if you don't jump over it, so remember to jump. Speaking of jumping, the boss also has a low leg sweep attack. Like with the diagonal swing, if you're properly spaced, you can be just out of range of this attack and not have to actively dodge it. But if you are in range, just jump to completely avoid the swing. Next up is the boss's 360 spin attack. As before, diagonal spacing can put you out of range of this attack, so it easily misses you. But if you are in range, be aware that this swing will come from our right and aim around head level. Supposedly you can duck under the swing, and I've done so several times, but I've also sometimes been hit after ducking, so it seems inconsistent. Whether I crouch and look down or crouch and look up, it still sometimes hits me. If you're having the same issue, I recommend using a shield like a buckler, since that's always been consistent for me. Just crouch and block while turning to the right and looking slightly up. Funny enough, the attack will almost always miss you over your shield, but if I do the same motion without the shield, I sometimes get hit, so I'm honestly a bit confused here. Just bring a shield like I did if ducking doesn't work for you. There's also a medium range version of the 360 spin attack that comes from the left instead. You will almost always be in range of this attack even with diagonal circle strafing, so always be prepared to dodge it. In this case, crouch and block while turning to the left and looking slightly up. Again, the attack will almost always miss over your shield and head, suggesting that you should be able to safely duck under this attack without a shield, but this has been inconsistent for me, so if you have the same problem, bring a shield. Next up, the boss will stab its sword into the ground while saying your end is nigh. Stop your diagonal circle strafe and just get away. Don't get greedy and attack, because the shockwave is bigger than it looks and can easily one-shot you. It also lingers for a teensy bit, so don't rush back towards the boss too soon. This attack also leaves small ghostly pools on the ground that linger for a minute or two. Don't step into them, otherwise they'll slow you down a lot while doing a bit of damage. Speaking of these pools, every time you deal 1/3 of the boss's health, it will immediately do that same ground stab attack. But right afterwards, it will shout die before charging up up a long-range double broadsword swing. Supposedly this can be dodged and or blocked, but it's much safer to just get far away from the boss so you're out of range and easily dodge it. It's also a great opportunity to buff yourself or heal, so go right ahead while you wait. Since this happens every time you deal 1/3 of the boss's health, that means the knight will do this charge slash 2 times before you can finish it off. But once you finally defeat the knight, you'll be able to loot them and hopefully find Spectral fabric. As of the time of writing this, I've sold 3 fabrics for over 3,000 gold each, even though they don't have an in-game use yet. That's because it's been data mined that the Spectral coin bags, which will store 2,500 gold each, need 1 Spectral fabric to craft them. They'll also need a regular gold coin bag, 3 spider silk, and 3 enchanted dark fabric. Other than the Spectral fabric, the Spectral Knight's loot quality is pretty much the same as Cave Troll or Cyclops. After looting the boss, head south to the cursed stone door to open it, then head further down. Here, you'll find a marvelous chest and a loot pile just like with the other bosses. There's also another cursed stone door in the back, but just like with Cave Troll and Cyclops in the Goblin Caves, this door will only open once both the Spectral Knight and the Banshee bosses are both slain. Then you'll be able to access some kind of central vault with even better loot. But as of the time of writing this, the Banshee boss hasn't been added yet, even though we can enter its room. By the way, the High Roller Spectral Knight is exactly the same as the normal Spectral Knight, except it has 3315 health instead of 2515 health and hits a little bit harder. So if you're comfortable fighting the normal Spectral Knight, you should easily be able to farm the High Roller Spectral Knight. But apparently the Spectral Cloth has the same 10% drop rate for the High Roller Spectral Knight as it does for the normal Spectral Knight. For what it's worth, you can use luck to boost the drop chance a bit as well. Either way, best of luck with the boss. Please like and subscribe if this vid helped, and feel free to drop questions below. And if you have suggestions on how to dodge the 360 spin consistently, please comment them below as well. Happy hunting!